Shannon, what do you remember most about Kobe's last game?
That Kobe went out the way Kobe should have. Gunning. Kobe was a gunner. Kobe couldn't go out 2 for 10. Kobe went out the way Kobe was supposed to go out. And Skip, I remember watching because if I'm not mistaken, it was on TNT, and Shaq asked Kobe, could he give him 50? And Kobe said, absolutely not. There's no chance that's going to happen. And lo and behold, he gave you 10 more than 50. He gave you 60. Now, mind you, Skip, Kobe hadn't scored 50 points since 2009. So that's how long it had been since he dropped 50. And then he goes and gets that. And they needed, Skip, he outscored the Jazz by 2 points himself, 23-21 in the fourth quarter, including 17 straight. And with 3 minutes left in the ball game, they were down 10, and Kobe gets 15 in the final 3 in 3 minutes and 5 seconds. That's the Kobe Bryant that we know. Skip, we talk about James Harden, and James Harden can do some unbelievable things. But if you think for 1 second that Kobe Bryant, Skip, you remember that streak that he had? He went like, 3 or 4 in like a month, where he had like 5 50-point games. And he was dropping 65 in one game, and then he'll drop 60 in 3 quarters in another game. And then he throw 81 in here. Yeah, James Harden is doing some stuff, but this guy right here, Skip, people don't realize, and I think early on because people deemed him selfish. Man, Kobe won't pass Kobe. He could natural born get buckets. And he was clutch. He never shied away from a moment, because I remember when he airballed, Dale Harris had him take the shot in Utah, and he airballed a couple of them. And then to turn into what he turned into after that. But you got to realize, Skip, that was a 17-year-old boy playing with full-grown-ass men. He grew up. Kobe went out the way I expected Kobe to go out, gunning 50 shots, 60 points. I would have it no other way. It's like Bonnie and Clyde. They went out swinging. Hey, Skip, because the old outlaw, Skip, you got to go down swinging. And that's how Kobe went down. Guns are blazing. And I loved every minute of it.
I hate to remind you of this, but I don't think Bonnie and Clyde went down swinging. I think their car got shot off the hell by the G-men. I know it was like an ambush. They didn't have a chance to fire back. So, yeah, it was just complete ambush. They shot it like 5,000 rounds into the car. So I'm not sure they went down swinging. They went down running, but whatever. Okay, let's get back
before they got ambushed, they went down swinging, yes.
Okay, you're right about that. So usually if I had watched a game like this, I would be offended by some of the defense that got played on Kobe that night, because Gordon Hayward and it was Joe Ingles some of the time. They were mixing and matching, but mostly it was Gordon Hayward. Yeah, some Rodney Hood, but mostly the two guys that I first mentioned. And by the way, I watched this game in its entirety maybe 2 weeks ago. I forget what it was on NBA TV or whatever I saw. I'm watching all these classic replays, but usually it would offend me that they weren't playing harder on Kobe, because they weren't exactly playing what I would call Game 7 playoff defense. They were getting in his way. They were holding up a hand, but they weren't diving to try to block his three-point shots or trying to foul him and send him to the line in case he drove it. They were mostly just playing respectful defense. But I do think that even the Jazz got caught up in what Kobe was pulling off. But remember, Kobe was a broken down 37-year-old.
Yes.
And his team around him wasn't very good, because I don't know if people remember, a kid named Marcelo Huertas played 26 minutes as Kobe's teammate in this game, undrafted from Brazil. Marcelo Huertas, remember him? Well, he's playing high minutes, so that's sort of all Kobe had to work with in this game. And to your point, the pressure on Kobe was extraordinary, because all of his great ex-teammates were in the house from Shaq on down. All of the stars in Hollywood had come out from Jack Nicholson on down to see Kobe in his grand finale. And what I remember most is that Kobe missed his first 5 shots. He was a little anxious, not nervous, just anxious, just trying to put on a show. And usually, most players, after they miss their first 5, would wind up doing what you just said, going 2 for 10 for the game. They'd shrink a little bit. They'd say, it's just not my night. I just don't have my legs anymore. I'll just sort of mail in one last game, and then we'll have a great post-game ceremony. No, not Kobe. This was the all-time Mamba mentality. This was the all-time Kobe Bryant willing himself to score 60 after he missed his first 5. And for those who really know this game, his first bucket of the night was the highest degree of difficulty, where he's sort of stuck on the baseline, 10 feet from the basket, straight on, no backboard, obviously. And he goes up, and it was the one shot all night that was highly contested. So he had to arch it even higher than normal with no backboard from 10 feet. That might be the hardest shot on the basketball court, and he switched it. And I'm like, wow, here we go. And from that moment on, that broke the ice. Kobe also said after the game in an interview that I saw that he went down to the other end and he blocked Trevor Booker's shot. He kind of blocked it from behind, but he got it and got it good. And he said that also sort of got him into the game and into the rhythm of the game. And I don't care about the final stats because they're not pretty. It's 22 of 50, so he missed 28 shots. And it's only 6 of 21 from 3, so he missed 15 three-point shots. But Shannon, to your point, once we got deeper into the game, he got hotter and hotter and more Kobe-esque, to where he went into the twilight zone in the fourth quarter, and we got to see vintage Mamba against all odds. And yeah, the Jazz, were they swept up? I think they were just in awe of what was happening. And I'm not saying they weren't trying. They were just kind of half playing defense and half watching in awe of what was happening right into their very eyes. And Kobe went crazy hot in the fourth quarter, and as you say, outscored the Jazz, and they pulled off a W. They won 101-96, and it was a close game. It's kind of it got to be a shootout in the fourth quarter, but Kobe Bryant, in the game of games for him, willed himself to 60, and as you point out, he hadn't scored 50 for years like that. So it was all-time. His speech after the game was all-time. And then to drop the mic, I couldn't have scripted it any better. And if I'd written that script, nobody in Hollywood would have bought it because it would have seemed impossible, just preposterous that Kobe Bryant could end his career that way.
Skip, you know what happened? Because you mentioned that Kobe was a shell of himself. Also on that team, Skip, was Roy Hibbert. And we remember Roy Hibbert, but not the Roy Hibbert that was in Indiana. That was a Roy Hibbert that had long past, that was playing alongside Kobe. And what happened, Skip, is that the Jazz, was thinking the same thing you were thinking. Man, Kobe ain't got it. And, we're not going to even really have to do a whole lot. And he messed around and caught fire. It reminded me of, Skip, you remember when Dennis Eckersley threw that pitch to Gibson? Gibson had a pulled hamstring. Yeah. He said he has no legs. There's no way he can hit anything I throw up there out of the park. And lo and behold, he throws that pitch, and Gibson takes it over the fence. Well, that's what happened with Utah. They're looking at Kobe. They had seen the footage of Kobe. Kobe was a shell of himself. There is no way he's going to get 30. We don't even have to worry about it. We ain't got to just D up on him. And before you know it, Skip, he got a rhythm. He's caught fire, and now they're trying to body him. Now they're trying to deny him the basketball, but it's too late. Skip, you can't let a scorer get hot. Once he gets hot, unless you double him and take the ball out of his hands, which they were trying to front him, tried to body him, but they didn't get the ball out of his hands. It's too late. It's too late. Skip, I can't remember. Now, obviously, Wilt has had some games when you score 70, you score 100 points. Obviously, you shot the ball 50-plus times. But, Skip, I can't remember anybody other than Kobe scoring, shooting the ball 50 times in a game. Let that sink in, Skip. That's almost like 50 carries. We don't see NFL running backs or college running backs with 50 carries in the game. How many times other than Kobe and Wilt had you could say, you know what? He shot the ball 50 times. I can't recall.
And, yeah, by the way, Kirk Gibson didn't have to run to hit that home run. In fact, he sort of gimped around the bases, as you recall.
Yes.
And all he had to do was sort of drag himself to the batter's box with his pulled hamstring and hit the Hall of Fame backdoor slider from Dennis Eckersley that he was known for. It was his signature pitch, and he jerked it over the right field fence. Game 1, ball game. But the point was, Kobe did have to run, and even though he couldn't really dunk, he had one shot at the rim where he could have dunked it, he just couldn't even get up to dunk it anymore. And that shows you even there, you can't even dunk anymore, and you scored 60? Wow. It's the all-time perfect way to go out for Mamba mentality.
But that's why, Skip, when you're dealing with a great player and he might be on his last legs and he might be well past his prime greatness, you never underestimate him because he can catch lightning in a bottle just one more time. And that's what happened with Kobe. He caught lightning in a bottle one last time, one last game. Let that sink in, Skip. Nobody's had a moment like this. Yeah, we've seen guys win Super Bowls, but Skip, not like this. Not like this.
No. And to sum this up, it was a privilege and an honor just to be able to talk about it once again.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.